Namah Shri Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine.
Namaste. So we continue our discussion. Sorry for not being able to start on time today. I was traveling and just arrived. So we will continue from where we left our discussion yesterday. We discussed about the Dravya Sangraha, Khadinyatma Manakalo Dishascha Dravya Sangraha, Sendriyam Chetanam Dravyam Nirendriyam Achetanam. So just to summarize that, we understood that Dravya are 9 in number, Khadini, which is the 5 Mahabhutas, then Atma. And we also understood that Charaka, with a play of words, by using Khadini Atma, he purposefully avoids mentioning the 5 Bhutas by name, mentions only Akasha and Atma, and thereby seems to be connecting this verse to Upanishadic statements like Etasmad va Atmana Akasha-Saṁhitā, and also giving us a very deep insight that if we start looking at the physical world and probe deep, we reach Akasha. And Akasha is not space as we understand it commonly. Space is directional for us, so we better look at space as Dik. Akasha is, according to our concepts here, Avakasha Dana, the Akasha is empty space in which everything else exists, beyond relativity, beyond any idea of, directions. So we also discussed that we could otherwise, because English words have limitations, we could otherwise think of Akasha as absolute space and Dik as relative space. So if we go deep into the external world, we end up with Akasha. And if you try to go beyond Akasha, then we will, like a boomerang, we will come back inside to Atma. So Khadinya Atma, if you study the Panchamahabhutas deeply, and if you go like modern science is now through physics reaching that point, then your exploratory initiative will boomerang and you will reach back. Yes, Akasha is the Panchama Bhuta of the fifth Bhuta, which we say as Avakasha Dana Akasha, that in which everything else exists. It is all pervading. Dik is direction, where you are looking at, you have some reference point like the sun. When you classify that's the area of space with reference to some reference point like the sun, and say where the sun rises is east, and then you have all the relativity. Then you have east, west, north, south, and then in between all the ashtadiks emerge. When you look at space with reference to the sun, otherwise there is no dik. So Akasha is beyond that. Akasha is not, when a dik is something which is created when we classify space from a geocentric point of view. So with earth as the center and what we see, what is visible to us, the space that is visible to us, which we classify with relationship to the sun. That is how the dik comes. It's very, very important in our day-to-day, vyavaharas. Whereas desha is a very particular, area of land, like Bharata Desha, that is a geographical region, Kerala Desha. So that is having geographical boundaries. Dik does not have geographical boundaries, it is the idea of direction. So both Desha and Dik are comparatively relative. And when you say time and space, even in modern science, the space there is not Akasha, if you look at it very carefully. Akasha is just emptiness in which everything else. Chaladrava Jaloshnatum Bhujala Anila Tejasam Akashasya Pradikadaha. This is the sign of Akasha, Pradikada. Nothing obstructing. So wherever you move and nothing obstructs, that is Akasha. Indriyas are the instruments. Indriyas are called Karanas in Ayurveda. They are not Prameya. Prameya in the sense, we can also study them, except anything that we study objectively is Prameya. That is fine. But Indriyas are Karanas of Atmatnya Karaner Yoga Jnanantosya Pravartade. Indriya is basically a Karana for knowledge. Anything that you subject to studying, anything that becomes a subject of study, we can refer to as Prameya. So all the dravyas, all the objects in the universe we can study. But with what do we study? Even Manas is both Prameya and it is also the Karana for knowing. Indriyabhigraha karma manasasvasya nigraha. So Manas, we use Manas itself to study itself. But Indriyas, we can objectively study about it. That is possible. But they are also the tools of knowledge. I don't know if I answered your question. What do you mean by it is itself called as Prameya? What are you referring to here? I did not understand your doubt clearly. Okay, Padartha Vijnana. Yes, that is because we can also objectively study it. So when you are studying about Indriyas, it becomes Prameya. When you use the Indriyas to know, it becomes Pramana. Because Indriyas can give you only knowledge of the Panchamahabhutas. It cannot give you any other knowledge. So with the mind, you can study the Indriyas. So even Atma, Indriyas can't perceive itself, the mind can perceive the Indriyas. How do you know that you have Indriyas? Because the mind tells you. Indriyas cannot perceive itself, that's true. But I can study Indriyas. How do I study the eye, functioning of the eye? I study it in another person. I use my Indriyas to understand how another, it is mainly led by the mind. So Manas is the Neta of the Indriyas. So with the Manas we are able to study. With the Manas we study Manas also itself. So all these are prameyas, anything that we can study. But it is not a contradiction when you say that it is a prameya and also a karana of knowledge. With the indriyas, you can know only the panchama bhutatmaka. With eyes, rupa, with ears, shabda, with nose, gandha. You cannot study the manas with indriya. That is true. But manas can study the indriyas. Is that clear? You are saying okay, sir. So you did not understand, I think. We'll come back to that. I understand that your doubt is how can an instrument of knowledge become also the subject of knowledge? That is what you are asking. That is possible because Indriya is a instrument of knowledge only for limited purposes. It also needs to be studied. So there is no contradiction in Indriya being a karana of knowledge as well as the prameya or something which can be studied. So everything is like that. The Atman also cannot actually be studied because it is aware of everything else and nothing else is aware of it. As you go deeper and deeper, if you want to watch your mind, you have to become a witness. Becoming a witness is being more in yourself. So, actually speaking, how does pratyaksha happen? You must have read that Atma Manasa samyujyade manam indriyena indriyamarthena tada pratyaksham. So indriya cannot even perceive the external objects unless it is connected to the manas and atma. If just because indriya is connected to an indriyartha doesn't mean that there is knowledge. That knowledge has to be captured by the manas. And then the Atman has to witness it. Then only pratyaksham happens. Atma manasa saha samyujyate manaha indriyena indriyam arthena. So how are we actually knowing? We are knowing because of Atman only. Atman is the witness. Indriya is only giving a sensation. So we have to understand all this is like the computer. When I am not there, what is happening in the computer is not perceived. So ultimately, the source of all knowledge is the Atman. But to get the limited knowledge filtered through the Indriyas, the Atmatnya Karanair Yogad. See, if you are not associated with one Sharira, then you get your Atman is unlimited, it is Vibhu and it is Sarvatnya. The only difference is Indriyas make us Kinchitnya. Kinchitnyas. So there is a difference of Sarvatnya and Kinchitnya. The Atman with the Sharira Yukta is a Kinchitnya. Knows only what the Indriyas reveal to us. But an Atma which is not connected to the Indriyas is a Sarvatnya. Because Indriyas are actually limiting our knowledge. When I am in my body, I can know only what my eyes tell me. I can hear only what my ears allow me to hear. So my knowledge is limited. So this is discussed. It will come later. It is coming in Kathita Purushiyam, Sharirasthanam, first chapter, all about how all this happens. So basic difference is we are Kinchitnyas and our goal is to become a Sarvatnya. In order to become Sarvatnya, we have to take our Indriyukta Manas has to become Atma Yukta Manas. And when that obstruction, when that filtering which is created by our sense organs and mind, that disappears, then the Atma becomes Vibhu, Sarvajna, and this is what we call as the ultimate state. So that's quite a bit of philosophy and requires a very calm, composed mind and focused attention to understand, because this is a topic of which we can study only through introversion. I have also come from a long journey and I'm gathering my mind also now. So it's not a good time to discuss such profound topics of Atman and other concepts, but I try to explain the best way possible. I hope the concept of Kinchitnya and Sarvatnya is clear. So now we think, if I am blind or I cannot see anything. Yes, now I am dependent on my eye to see. But when your mind is withdrawn from the Indriyas and you cause laya in your own self, then everything, all limitations disappear. Sarva grandhinam vipramoksha. And then you become a sarvatnya. So one of the questions in Ayurveda is also, how can a kinjitnya become a sarvatnya? Right. So we go to the next verse. Gunas are explained here. Sartha gurvadayo buddhi prayatnanda paradaya guna proktaha. So this is a very, very interesting classification of gunas. We already looked at the 9 dravyas, and again we found there was very nice insights in the way the words were composed. And here also you can see Sartha Gurvadayo Buddhi Prayatnanta Paradaya Guna Prokta. So there are 41 gunas mentioned here. This is the power of Sanskrit. Can you count 41 here? Anybody? The compressed language. Acharya is telling, actually he should have told Ega Chatvarimshat Gunaha Santi, but he's not telling like that. He's not telling there are 41 gunas. He's not telling there are 9 dravyas. We have to count, making us use our brains. So now, can you, anybody guess how there are 41 gunas? Some of you may have, I don't know. I don't know anybody in this group. Some of you I can see nowadays, after I told I'm speaking to a blank. Some of you I'm able to see. Not everybody. I know. I don't even see how many are, because once I share my screen, I see only few people, not the full set. So I really don't know what is your background. Some of you who studied Ayurveda may be knowing what are these 41 gunas. They are here actually 4 categories are mentioned. 4 categories of gunas have been described. Sartha is one category. Gurvadaya is another category. Buddhi Prayatnanda is another category. And then Paradaya is another category. So 4 categories are there. Each of them has different types of gunas. And if you bring all these things together, there are 41 gunas. Vishwalakshana guna. So gunas you can have anandam. Ayurveda requires only 41 gunas. So we have discussed 41. Now I'll try to explain some interesting way in which this has been classified. See, how do we experience the world? Through our sense organs, isn't it? If we were blind, deaf, some people are dumb, and if we had no sensation in our skin and no smell, just imagine, it's a very frightening thing to imagine. The external world won't exist for us, isn't it? There are some people who are deaf and dumb, some people who are blind. Have you heard of anosmia? No smell. I experienced it recently, some 1.5 years back. Do you know? Can you imagine when? It was one of the symptoms of COVID, is it not? So it was very frightening when I experienced it. A world without smell. Some people also got what is called as parosmia. All smells look very nasty. This can also be very frightening. But just for one moment, imagine if there were no sense objects. If you couldn't connect to the sense objects, there is no world. So we have to thank our Indriyas for creating this entertainment of the world. If Indriyas were not there, there's no stimuli. Even if somebody comes and hits you, you will not understand because you have no sensation. So luckily there is no disease in which all Indriyas are not functioning. Or I don't know, I'm not aware of that. Few Indriyas not functioning we do see, but all Indriyas not functioning, how will that person be? So the world is created by our Indriyas. They are manufacturing the world for us. Through 5 windows, we are seeing the world. So those objects of the sense organs, these are called as Vishesha Gunas. Our world is 5 dimensional. When you say our world is Panchabhautika, we should say that it is 5 dimensional. What do you mean by Panchabhautika? That I am experiencing the world as a combination of smell, taste, then form, touch, and today we have audio visual. Suppose we have films where you can also get the smell, you can also touch people, then our world will become very real. But only imitation is very limited. You may see a very nice Apple picture, looks almost 3 dimensional. When you go and touch it, no, it's very difficult. You don't get the whole thing. Is it not? Sometimes you make a real wax apple, it looks so real, you go and bite it, then you know it is not apple. So the world, to experience the world completely, you need all your 5 sense organs. So when you said Panchabhaudikam in Ayurveda, that is why the Panchamabhuta theory is not changing, because when it was first conceived and even today, we have only 5 sense organs. Is there a sixth sense organ? No. If there was a sixth sense organ, then there would be 6 Mahabhutas. I hope it is clear. Any doubt? If there are 6, if there was a sixth sense organ, then there would be 6 Mahabhutas. Did you get the point? There are 5 Mahabhutas because we have only 5 sense organs. And the objects, the special objects, even in modern medicine, we call this as the special senses. The 5 sense organs are called as the special senses. So the objects of the special senses, this is called sartha. So Abhijit, you are saying during dream, what did you mean?
So I meant during the dream state, we don't have any indriyas. Roop, ras, sabda, sparsha, gandha, we
Yeah,
don't have. So that is
but
the thing we experience.
yeah. Dream is not the state; it is sushupti, actually, because even in dream you have the memories of the indriyarthas. So the mind is still active. In sushupti, it is deep. That is why when you sleep deeply, you don't know what happened. When you wake up, you just say, "I slept nicely." If you had complete sushupti, it would be just like waking up in a minute. You may have slept 9 hours, but because our mind is full of dreams and disturbances, we are seeing horror movies during our dreams without paying any money and waking up in the middle of the night, having fights. So we are not having good sleep. If you sleep very well, then yes. So that is what Yadadu manasik klande, that is how nidra happens. When your mind is tired and it withdraws inside, disconnects from the indriyas, that is when tata swapiti manava, then the individual is sleeping. But Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti are there. We need to go beyond the Swapna Avastha. We need to go beyond the Swapna Avastha into the Sushupti Avastha also. Modern sleep science, it's a new science now. There are institutes for sleep medicine. They study how people sleep. So you can measure sleep. You have so many instruments now. So, they have, I'm sure you have heard of REM and non-REM sleep, rapid eye movement phase and non-rapid eye movement. So usually the rapid eye movement phase is correlating to a dream. So if you really watch the person very carefully, you can see the eyes are moving. It's closed but still moving. So you can guess that the person is sleeping. Today you have also apps and devices which can track how you are sleeping and wake you up at a time when if you wake up you won't feel tired. Yukta nidranna bodhayet, this is what Ayurveda says. If a person is sleeping soundly and properly, please don't wake him up. It's got to be a papa. Waking up a person at the wrong time. And also it has been well found that when in a particular state of sleep, when you wake up, I am sure you have noticed sometimes you sleep well, but because you are woken up in the wrong phase of your sleep, the whole day is destroyed. Have you not experienced that? In spite of sleeping. Yeah, Indriya is non-functional, of course, but we still experience something. I am talking about a state in which there's absolutely no experience. We are trying to create that in meditation, where even the mind has to be quietened. Because in dream, we still a world exists for us, even though it is memories. And at that time, you think it is real, is it not? I have a lot of time thanked God that when I wake up, oh, it was only a dream. Because at that time, it looked so real. So, when you are dreaming, it is real. That is what Vedanta also says. Now, what you are experiencing seems so real because it's like a dream. Only when you wake up, you will know that it is a dream. So I'm talking of a state in which you have absolutely no contact with sense objects, nor the memories of sense objects, and that has to be Sushupti. But the problem with Sushupti is that we are not aware. So now see, usually how do we wake up anyway? Sleep medicine is also important. So it's okay, I think, to spend a little time on this. That usually what we do, that's why alarms are very harmful. Alarms are actually very harmful because it is just going off at a time which we set. It is not checking whether the person is in light stage of sleep or deep stage of sleep. You should wake up only when you are in a light stage of sleep, not when you are in a deep stage of sleep. If I forcefully wake you up from a deep stage of sleep, that is the question. It's a theoretical question. So a person without indriyas but with only the mind, if he does not have any memory of a prior sensory experience, what can he dream? Think of a theoretical situation where a child is born without any of the five indriyas. It's almost like the world doesn't exist. It's not possible for that person to experience anything unless you can argue that he has memories from his past. And that is dreaming. So he lives in a world of only dreams. The Indriyas wake you up to the Jagrad Avastha. But according to Vedanta, Jagrad is also, yeah, emotions come when there is a thought. From thought comes emotion. When I see something, the thought of that comes. So that is thought, emotion, action. That is the sequence. So we may be always blaming the emotion, but behind the emotion is actually a thought. That is what even modern psychology has understood. You go to psychologists or psychiatrists, they will tell you your action is because of an emotion, and that emotion is because of a thought. And in counseling, we are taught how to handle our thoughts. So if our thoughts are not there, then there cannot be emotions. So thoughts are triggered by memories or so that is the thing. Okay, so now coming back to our discussion here, Sarthaha Gurvadayaha. So the Panchamahabhutas have special properties which are called as the Sarthaha. And this we experience instinctively. Instinctively we experience this. We don't even think about it. We take it for granted. We think that is reality because it is so instinctively experienced. I open my eyes and I see the world. I take ice cream and lick it and oh, it's so nice. I don't analyze. So no, I just experience and enjoy. I hear a nice song or I hear some noise. I say, what a nuisance, what a disturbance. Or you hear somebody singing nicely. Oh, what a beautiful song. You get some good smell. You feel so happy. You go to all these luxury places. They will be spraying everywhere with perfumes. Sometimes today people are using so many perfumes that when some people pass by you, it looks like a perfume bottle is walking past you. An open perfume bottle is walking past you. People are using so many perfumes. So all those things we experience very instinctively. So Sartha, this is the domain of instinctive experience. We experience the world instinctively. And we are using this instinct to decide what is good and what is bad. For example, the moment I see some person's expression and I understand this is threatening, then immediately I don't even think about it, is it not? If I see a snake, immediately my reaction, before I even analyze what is happening, through a reflex, I will try to run away from that place. The visual cue is very, very powerful. Is it not? So suppose we are up to some mischief and you see even the shadow of your parents, you will panic. You don't need much time to process. So that visual cue is very, very powerful. So we are led to experience. The world is experienced through our sense organs. Sense organs creates our world. That is why these gunas are mentioned first. So the Acharya is telling us that we are experiencing our world in through these five windows, and in an instinctive way we understand. After this, we start analyzing intellectually. Is it not? Please think about it. You are doing some mischief and you think your father has come, then you panic first, then when you look closely, it is somebody else. Then you are relieved, is it not? Then you start analyzing intellectually, right? Who is that person and all that. And then when you understand, oh, this is nothing to worry, then you are calm. So the intellect functions a little later. Through unless you are very spiritually evolved, and this is how we function. This is what is called Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavam ivambhase. Has anybody heard this verse?
Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you said. Somebody said something.
Bhagavad Gita.
Very good. This is from Bhagavad Gita. Yes, vision is a guna. We are seeing the Rupa guna. But we think it is an object. It is like a film show, it's a projection. What really exists is not what we are seeing. That's why we call it as Maya. So if you look deep inside, you can see there is a projector of the Tanmatras which is creating this world for us. It's just a projection. So there is this verse, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijandasthitam. This verse tells us that this world is a projection. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam.
Dakshinamurti Stotram.
Where is it from?
Dakshinamurti Stotram. Dakshinamurti Stotram.
So if we connect, see, that is why we have to read all the Shastras and connect them all together. You may be thinking why we are why we are actually referring to all, because all the, as I told, the Indian knowledge systems based on the same epistemological thinking and focus. So when you link all this, tasmat bahushruta shastram vijaniyat chikitsaka. Egam shastram adhiyano navidyat shastra nishchayam. To get shastra nishchayam, you must look into other shastras also. So when you study about this, you must link it with other shastras also that you know, so that your understanding becomes more drita, more strong. Otherwise, it will not be strengthened. So you go deep. So I'm showing one way of how we can, what I am using. So when I study Indriyas, I look at how this context is explained in Gita, how it is there in Saundarya Lahari, how is it there in Dakshinamurti Stotra, how, when you link all that, you will see how powerful this is. It almost looks like our Acharya was also thinking about all this when he wrote that verse. How it has been derived from all these Shastras and brought here. So I told this is called Vidya Kalpana, looking at other Shastras also. So, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. So, the world is like a mirror. You are projecting the image from inside and then thinking you are trapped in that universe. So it is that instinctive thing. Then you use your intellect. First, what you get is an instinctual understanding of the world, and then you start using your intelligence and analyze. So that gunas which we analyze and understand is called Guruvadis. So after instinct comes intellect. Now the Guruvadi gunas are not perceptible to animals. Only humans can know this. So we go beyond instinct to, so this is telling how to study the universe. I told earlier that we have to use instinct, intellect, and one more thing I had mentioned. Anybody remember?
Intuition.
Intuition, excellent. Instinct, intellect, and intuition. So you can see here it is in that same sequence that the gunas are mentioned. First is what we learn, what we experience through instinct. Second is what we experience through intellect, Shita, Ushna. To know that Shita and Ushna are but one continuum, it is, a polarity. The whole universe is polarized. The polarity of the gunas, that is what the Guruvadi gunas mentioned. Guru Lakhu, heavy, light. Snigdha Ruksha, oily, dry. Now, an animal cannot perceive. They can perceive heat and cold, but they don't understand it. They react, their bodies respond to it. Again, but humans are able to understand, measure it also, and even do things to counteract that. Animals can only get natural protection against this. There is a word in Sanskrit which comes close to the modern idea of intuition. It's called alaukika pratyaksha. So there is alaukika pratyakshas of different types. Yukta Yunjana is there. Then there is conceptual. So this alaukika pratyaksha can mean that you get hints and clues to actually perceiving things directly. And it is said that as you focus more and more and your mind becomes more centered, you will begin to experience what is called as alaukika pratyaksha. Yuktas and Yunjana, there are also two types. Some people, they can get alaukika pratyaksha when they take some effort, like for example, you sit and focus and concentrate, and then the knowledge will come in your mind. But if you have become a fully established yogi, yuktasya sarvada bhanam, the yukta type of alaukika pratyaksha is there for always. But yunjana is whenever you take an effort, you get that intuition, but after that, no. So good astrologers and all have this alaukika pratyaksha. When they sit, they light the lamp, they go into meditation, and when they are doing this prashna and all that, most of these things they are able to tell through alaukika pratyaksha. That requires a lot of training of the mind, practice of yoga, control of emotions. So Ayurveda, what modern people are talking about intuition is only some flashes, some clues. But we are talking, that is only the beginning of intuition. If you develop intuition completely, you have Trikala Jnanam also. Rajastamobhyam nirmuktaha tapojnana balena ye yesham Trikala mamalam jnanam avyahadam sada aptaha shishtaha vibuddhaste tesham vakyam asabshe. So today we are trying to create scientists. Scientists can perceive truth only when they are using some instruments or protocols. Otherwise, they are as ignorant as us. But in our ancient times, we were trying to create yogis, aptas, who had this Trikala Jnana. We cannot even imagine it now. If it is some other group, I won't even talk about it. People will think I am mad. But we have this concept of Trikala Jnana. If you look at it logically, rationally, when you go into the deep state of yoga, this power of alaukika pratyaksha comes. So what here Ayurveda is telling is that our engagement with the world depends on the level of our mind. If I am living at the instinctual world, in an instinctual way, all that I will experience is the Panchabhaudika universe. Only these five, like an animal. If I go deeper and I start using my intellect, then the world appears through the framework of Guruvadi Gunas, the physico-chemical properties. Then you have physics and chemistry. Guruvadi Gunas deal with what? See, Gurutvam is the basis, that is how all modern science also started. Isaac Newton, sitting under an apple tree, discovered Guruvadi Gunas. And the apple fell on his head. Oh, this is Gurutvam. So you can see here Guruvadi. The first reference to Guruvadi, Gurutvam, gravity is here, you can see. An apple doesn't have to necessarily fall on your head. In India, maybe it's because coconuts fell and person may not survive if a coconut falls. An apple is much easier thing to learn about gravity. But the idea is that gravity, all these forces of the universe, all that comes in physics and chemistry. So now you have a learned human way of understanding to the Guruvadi Gunas. But our Acharyas say, don't stop there, go deeper. Awaken your faculties more. Then you get intuition. That is why Buddhi Prayatnanda. Ichha Desha Sukham Dukkham Prayatnas Chetana Dhriti. So we have 5 special gunas, 20 Gurvadi gunas, 6 Atma gunas. So Buddhi Prayatna are called as Atma gunas. So see, when you experience the world, what happens? How does the world how do you explain? This is what Atma gunas are telling. You get Sukham or you get Dukkham, isn't it? If you got your favorite food in the canteen today, you will be having Sukham. If you got the food you don't like, you get Dukkham. So depending on whether the object gives you Sukham or Dukkham, you will develop like or dislike to that. It's called Ichha and Dvesha. Then comes Prayatna. So if I get a Sukha experience, then I will have an Ichha for that again, isn't it? I like that ice cream so much. So I have a desire. After the experience, Ichha is there. I want that Sukham again. So I will go behind that. I will do the Prayatna to get that Sukham again. This is how we are operating. So the Sartha and Gurvadi gunas giving us an experience, Anubhava. Anubhava Janyam Jnanam Smriti. It creates a Smriti. The Smriti of that Anubhava, if it is Sukha, if your Anubhava is Sukha, the Smriti will create Ichha. If your Anubhava is Dukkha, the Smriti will create Dvesha. Accordingly, your Prayatna will change. Just look at your Prayatna, your efforts. See, Ishta Prapti Anishta Parihara Chikirsha Swabhavika Sarva Pranishu Drishtatva. This is said by Shankaracharya. Ishta Prapti Anishta Parihara Chikirsha Swabhavika. Ishta Prapti Anishta Parihara. To get what you want and to avoid what you don't want. This is the Prayatna that we are all doing. I want to get this, I don't want to get that. For that I am living my life. And at the end, so we are led by our Sukha Dukkha and the Ichha Dvesha. And so what our Acharyas are telling, break this cycle. Break this cycle of this entrapment of Sukha Dukkha Ichha Dvesha. Your prayatnas are all happening controlled by Ichha and Dvesha. Raga Dvesha Viyuktaistu Vishayan Indriyacharan Atmavashyehi Vidheyatma Prasadamati Gacchati. So what is the solution? Buddhi. So here you can see Bhagavad Gita itself. To break that prayatna and to go beyond Sukha Dukkha and Ichha Dvesha, you need to use your Buddhi. Buddhau Sharanam Anvicha Kripana Bhala Hedava. Etad Buddhva Buddhiman Syad Kritakrityascha Bharata. So if you become a Buddhiman, then you see this. Oh, no, I don't want to be trapped by this. Some experience has come to me, gave me some sukha temporarily. So I have got this ichha and I am now a slave to this. I am repeating. My whole prayatna in my life is now controlled by the external experiences. Yes, 6. Ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, prayatna and buddhi. These are the 6. We will study all of them. Somebody's mic is on. Somebody's microphone was on. Did you please switch it off? Okay, I guess it's switched off. So is that clear? Sartha gunas, Gurvadi gunas give you an experience or anubhava. When you get that experience, you have sukha or dukkha. If you have sukha, you develop ichha. If you have dukkha, you develop dvesha. And you do a prayatna driven by your ichha or dvesha. So please ask yourself the question, are your prayatnas fueled by your ichhas or dveshas, or is it propelled by buddhi? If you are actions in your life, if your prayatnas in our life is led by buddhi, then we are in Arjuna's chariot. Because buddhi led. We are led by buddhi. If not, then we are in some of the other chariots. Brashta Sarathi Vadrata, which does not have a Sarathi. You are sitting in a car without a driver, and you don't know how to drive. Most of our lives are like that. That is why Atma Gunas are mentioned here. If you just simply say, okay, there are 6 Atma Gunas, it is of no use. Now you get a profound message from this. When that buddhi awakens, then your intuition will develop. Then you are able. So, to prepare to live in the world, you must understand this. That the purpose is that my prayatnas should be buddhi driven. That is why Etad buddhva buddhiman syad. Become a buddhiman, O Arjuna, by reading this. And also krita krityaha. Krita krityaha means having done what needs to be done. Etad buddhva buddhiman syad krita krityascha bharat. So the whole focus in Ayurveda is also the same as that of Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, all our great teachings is to make our prayatna driven by buddhi and not by ichha and dvesha. And when you start living like that, no intuition will come as long as our prayatnas are colored by raga and dvesha. You can sit with your eyes closed and clench your teeth and fist, but nothing, no intuition will come. Intuition will come spontaneously when buddhi is leading your life. So he even says, Buddhau Sharanam Anich. Seek refuge in intelligence. And once you start seeing this, then comes the Paradigunas, finally. Paradigunas it's an implementation strategy. These are the 10. So 5, I will type it down, 5 Vishesha Gunas, which give you an instinctive sensual experience. Sensual experience of the world. Then the 20 Samanya Gunas, which give you an abstract intellectual experience of the world. The Atmadi Gunas, which either make you a slave of your experiences or a master of your life. If you are under the sway of Ichha, Dvesha, which means if your prayatna is led by Ichha, Dvesha, created by Sukha and Dukkha, then you are a slave. You are a slave of your experiences. Brashta Sarathi Vadrata. There is no charioteer in our chariots. On the other hand, if our prayatna is led by buddhi, then we are masters of our life. We are in Arjuna's chariot. Krishna is our charioteer. Have you heard of Ashwamedha Yaga? Anybody heard of Ashwamedha Yaga?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you know that it is to become a Chakravarti or Samrat. we send the horse out, and then if any other king stops or tries to conquer the horse, you go and defeat them. So we are thinking this only as a war of kings. But Ashwa is representing our Indriyas. Indriyas are like horses. Indriyani hayanyahu. So Ashwamedha is the control, is the yajna which we do to control our sense organs. Wherever the horse stops, and if a king catches that horse, which means wherever a sense object captures your senses. If ice cream is trapping your tongue, then that is where you have to battle. Conquer that object, conquer that ice cream. Then your indriyas are released. You become the samrat, you become the master. That is what Ashwamedha is, to convert slavery to our sense organs into mastery over our sense organs. So then you become the samrat, you become a chakravarti, you are the king. Because now you are in your own control. So life is like slavery. You will lead a worldly life. So this is not it's actually a clarion call of liberation. Our Shastras are telling, become the master, don't be a slave. So that is the idea of Ashwamedha Yajna also you can see in Caraka-Saṁhitā. Everywhere you can link it with our Shastras. So with all that depth and vision, we have to study the Caraka-Saṁhitā. Then we can go deep into even Vedanta. And so Paradi Gunas is the operational framework. Now, how do you live in this world? Once you develop your buddhi, then you need a protocol to live in your life. So Paradi Gunas, we will study all the gunas. This is just for us to understand. Once you have once you have tamed your instincts, honed your intellect and awakened intuition, you begin to really live life like a master. The Paradi Gunas will help you to navigate in this world in a powerful way. So Sartha Gurvadaya Proktaha Prayatnanda Paradaya Guna Proktaha. It's a very profound description of gunas, which just by understanding the gunas, you get the key to how to lead your life. And you can see the connections to all the other Shastras. Many people say Ayurveda is not linked to Vedanta. Many Westerners are saying this came after Buddha. There is no Vedanta in it. See how they have added artificially in some chapters, they have added Vedanta. But see these verses, Vedanta is hiding in every letter, every word that is written. If we have the proper insight to see. The Paradi Gunas will be explained. Please wait. Charaka is going to explain it in the next verses. There are 10 pairs of gunas. Paraparatve yuktischa sankhya samyoga evacha. Vibhagascha prathaktvamcha. Samskara ubhyasa evacha. So these gunas are there. When we come to that, it will be explained in detail. But is this concept clear? What we discussed, is it clear? Because we are coming to the end of our discussion today. Namaste. See you again tomorrow.
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय कृष्णाय ते नमः रामकृष्णाय ते नमः